It is not in the noise of the world outside, but in the restlessness that lives within. Tonight, you sit quietly, perhaps after a long day that drained your energy, searching for something you cannot name. Your body feels heavy, your mind crowded, and yet somewhere inside you, there is a whisper that peace is possible. This whisper is what brings you here, to a journey unlike any you have taken before. Not a journey across seas or through cities, but an inner exploration, a path that takes you to the heart of your own being. Imagine yourself stepping through a gate made of weathered wood, painted by time and rain. A sanctuary hidden among silent hills. The air is cooler here, and every breath you take releases the weight of the day. As you exhale, tension loosens. From your shoulders, your hands, your jaw. For the first time in hours, maybe in days, you allow yourself to pause. You notice how rare that pause is. The world constantly pushes you forward, demands productivity, demands answers, demands that. You keep running without rest. Yet here, in this stillness, you find something the world outside never gave you: permission to stop. It feels strange at first, almost uncomfortable. But with every breath, your body begins to remember what it is like to simply be. The walls of the temple are lit with soft lanterns, their glow reflecting against stone floors, polished smooth by countless footsteps. Each flicker of light reminds you that peace is not the absence of movement, but the gentle rhythm of life itself. Beneath this calm, a question stirs. Why has life felt so heavy? Why do problems return again and again, no matter how hard you try to solve them? You carry memories of disappointment, perhaps of betrayal, perhaps of loss, perhaps of restless nights staring at the ceiling, asking yourself why things turned out the way they did. That ache in your chest, the tired weight in your bones, the quiet loneliness that lingers even when you are not alone. This is the pain that led you here. To seek peace is not weakness. It is courage. For it takes strength to admit that life has been hard, that suffering has been real, that your heart longs for something more. The monk who guides you here does not wear a crown of authority, but a robe of humility. His voice is soft, but steady, as though every word has been carried through centuries of practice. He tells you, everything happens for a reason. At first, you resist. It cannot be true. How can the heartbreak you endured, the illness you feared, the struggle you fought alone, how can those have meaning? Yet even as doubt rises, you notice how calm the monk remains, like a still pond untouched by storms. His calmness itself is an answer. The suffering you resist may not vanish in a moment, but the way you meet it can change everything. You close your eyes and hear the temple bells echoing across the valley. They do not rush. Their sound unfolds slowly, fading into silence, reminding you that time itself has its own rhythm. You begin to wonder if your life, too, has been unfolding with purpose, even when you did not see it. What if the struggles you hated were also steps on a hidden path? What if your suffering was not punishment, but a teacher in disguise? Your heart softens with the thought. Perhaps there is meaning you have not yet seen. Perhaps you have been looking in the wrong places, chasing after answers outside when the wisdom has always lived within. You breathe again, deeper this time, and feel the ground beneath you hold steady. The monk tells you to let go of today's worries, to set them down as you would set down a heavy bag after a long journey. You realize you have been carrying burdens, so long that you forgot what it feels like to rest. Slowly, gently, you release them. And in their place, you feel space opening within you, space for peace, space for clarity, space for a life not ruled by fear. Still, the mind resists. It whispers that you cannot change, that life is too broken, that peace is not for you. But another voice begins to rise, softer but clearer, born from the stillness of the temple. This voice says, you are not broken. You are unfolding. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, just as the river flows without end, your life too is in motion. Nothing has been wasted. Every moment, even the ones filled with pain, has been shaping you, preparing you for this very night. As this truth begins to settle, your breath deepens. You notice that the rhythm of your body and the rhythm of the temple bells have become one. For the first time in a long time, your mind is not racing ahead or clinging to the past. It is here now, resting in the presence of this sacred place. The monk's words become a lantern guiding you through the darkness. Everything happens for a reason, and peace is found not by escaping life, but by understanding it. The journey has only begun, but already you sense that this is not just a lesson to hear, it is an experience to live. You are not here to memorize teachings or follow rules. You are here to awaken, to discover a freedom that no circumstance can take away. The temple doors open wider, and you step further in, ready to explore the mystery of your own suffering and the wisdom that waits within it. And as the monk smiles, you know that tonight marks the beginning of something you have longed for, the journey to inner peace. Yet this journey is not walked in one step. It continues as you wake in a mountain monastery at dawn, when the air is fresh and the mist carries the scent of pine. I know the feeling of lying awake at night, your mind racing with worries that never stop. That restless weight presses down, as though peace is something unreachable, something reserved for someone else. But here in the silence of Moonmine Temple, where the lantern light flickers against ancient walls, and the night carries the scent of incense and cedar, you begin to discover another way. The monk does not tell you to erase your pain. He does not demand that you push away your thoughts. Instead, he invites you to breathe with them, to notice them the way you might notice leaves drifting in a stream. They appear, they float, and then they pass. What once felt permanent begins to soften. Your body, so used to holding tension, learns to release. With each breath, you understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not your pain. You are the space in which they rise and fall. This realization is subtle but powerful. For years, you may have believed that your suffering defined you, that the story of your struggles was the story of who you are. But as you sit in the stillness, you sense that there is more. Beneath the turmoil, there is a calm presence untouched by fear or sorrow. It has always been there, waiting. The monk calls it the clear sky of the mind. Clouds may gather, storms may rage, but the sky remains vast and unbroken. Your pain, like the weather, is temporary. The truth beneath it is as eternal. You feel this in your body as a warmth in the chest, a loosening of the knot in your stomach. For the first time in a long time, you are not fighting yourself. You are listening. You are resting. The night air carries the sound of a distant stream, its flow steady and unhurried. You realize that life itself moves like that stream. No moment is wasted. Every turn, every obstacle, every drop of water eventually finds its way to the sea. Perhaps your life, too, has been flowing toward a greater ocean of meaning all along. The monk speaks again. He tells you that the search for peace is not about fixing the world outside. It is about finding balance inside. You remember the times you tried to control everything, people, outcomes, even your own emotions. And how? Each attempt only left you more exhausted. Now, for the first time, you see another possibility: acceptance. Not the passive acceptance of defeat, but the active acceptance of reality as it is. To stop resisting what has already arrived. To meet life as a teacher, even when its lessons are painful. You think of your past moments when things seemed unbearable. The heartbreak that hollowed your chest. The disappointment that made you doubt yourself. The losses that left empty chairs at the table. Each one felt permanent, as if you would never recover. Yet here you are, breathing, alive, still searching, still capable of love. Those moments shaped you not by destroying you, but by carving deeper channels for compassion and strength. You realized that even in the darkest times, life was guiding you to this moment, preparing you to see more clearly. The monk guides you into a short meditation. He asks you to focus on your breath, to feel each inhale as nourishment, each exhale as release. At first, your thoughts wander images of the past, fears of the future. But with patience, your breath anchors you. The air moving through your nose, the rise and fall of your chest. So simple, so present. In that simplicity, you discover something extraordinary. Peace is not far away. It is here, in this very breath. All your searching, all your striving, and the answer has been within you all along. You open your eyes slowly. The temple seems brighter, though nothing has changed. The same lanterns, the same shadows, and yet you see differently. You feel differently. The monk smiles as if he knows this shift well. He tells you gently, this is the beginning. Inner peace is not a single destination you reach once and for all. It is a journey, walked moment by moment, breath by breath. Each step you take in awareness brings you closer to freedom. A bell rings in the distance, signaling the turning of the hour. The sound vibrates through the night air, deep and resonant, like the voice of time itself. You understand that your journey does not end with this meditation. It will continue tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. But tonight, you have taken the first step. You have opened the door to a new way of being. And as you prepare to rest, the monk tells you of dawn. He speaks of the morning light spilling over the mountains, of the fresh air carrying the scent of pine, of the way the world awakens in silence. He says that tomorrow, as the mist gathers around the monastery, you will sit again to learn. You will discover why suffering exists, why life's challenges are not random but deeply connected, and how wisdom can be found in the very heart of pain. The thought of morning fills you with quiet anticipation. You realize that your journey has only just begun. Tonight was the invitation, the opening. Tomorrow will bring deeper questions, harder truths, and greater peace. You breathe once more, grateful for this moment, and allow your eyes to close. The night holds you gently, and in the distance, the first light of dawn waits, ready to reveal the wisdom of the monastery. The first time I truly understood loss was not through stories of childhood, but in watching a storm tear through a valley. One evening, the rain pounded so hard that the river swelled and swept away fields people had tended for years. By morning, what once seemed stable was gone. That same silence, heavier than thunder, fell upon the families who stood by the empty land. I remember noticing in their eyes the same weight my father once carried, the gaze lowered to the ground, the sigh released when they thought no one was near. At the time, I could not understand it. But now, sitting here in the monastery, as dawn breaks, I realize that loss is something every human heart eventually meets. It comes in many forms. The end of a relationship, the death of someone beloved, the collapse of a dream. And yet here, surrounded by the mist of the mountain morning, the lesson is not about despair, but about awakening. The air is cool, almost sharp in its purity, and it carries the fragrance of pine needles damp with dew. Somewhere nearby, incense burns in a clay bowl, its smoke rising in delicate threads that disappear into the sky. The wooden floors creak beneath your feet as you walk toward the meditation hall, their sound reminding you that nothing lasts forever. Not the wood, not the hall, not even the body that carries you. Impermanence is everywhere, written into each breath, each sound, each shifting shadow. You sit beside the elder monk on a cushion worn thin by years of practice. His robe folds around him like flowing water, his hands resting gently in his lap. He looks at you not with judgment, but with quiet curiosity, as though he has been waiting for this conversation since before you arrived. He asks why you came. Why do you seek to understand suffering? His voice is steady, not pressing but inviting, as though the answer matters less than the honesty with which you speak it. You tell him about the weight. You carry the restless questions that haunt you at night, the mistakes that follow you. Like shadows, the loneliness that creeps in even when you are surrounded by others. You admit that sometimes life feels cruel, unfair, meaningless. The monk nods, as if he has heard these words thousands of times before. Perhaps he has. He does not dismiss your pain, nor does he try to soften it with empty comfort. Instead, he poses a question. What if none of this is by chance? The words catch you off guard. You think of the accidents, the betrayals, the sudden twists of fate that shaped your life. Could they really carry meaning? Could suffering have a reason? Your heart resists the idea. For so long, you believed yourself a victim of circumstances beyond your control. The thought that there might be order, that there might be connection, hidden within chaos, feels both comforting and terrifying. The monk gestures to the rising sun. Its golden light spreads slowly over the misty peaks, illuminating the monastery's tiled roofs. He says, just as the sun rises because of conditions, the turning of the earth, the pull of gravity, the endless dance of the cosmos, so too do the events of your life arise because of causes and conditions. Nothing appears without reason. Nothing happens in isolation. Even your suffering is woven into a web of causes that stretch far beyond what you can see. You close your eyes and listen to his words. The air fills with the sound of chanting from a nearby hall, a low vibration that settles deep into your chest. It feels like the mountain itself is breathing with you. For a moment, the weight of your pain lifts, replaced by a sense of belonging. You are not alone in your struggles. You are part of a greater pattern, a story larger than yourself. The monk continues, speaking of how we mistake suffering for punishment when it is, in truth, a teacher. Every challenge, every hardship is an invitation to see more clearly. He tells you that your restlessness is not an enemy, but a signpost pointing toward the freedom you seek. He does not promise that life will stop hurting, but he promises that understanding can transform the way you hold that. Hurt. The wooden beams of the hall creak again as the morning wind stirs through the open windows. You feel the cool air against your skin, reminding you that even this moment will pass. Nothing stays. Not pain, not joy, not even this conversation. The lesson is hidden in the shifting of breath, in the vanishing of smoke, in the rising of the sun. Everything changes. And yet, within that change, there is meaning. The monk tells you that life is like the intricate weaving of a tapestry. From the back, it looks messy, tangled, random. But when you turn it around, you see the pattern that has been forming all along. Your suffering, too, has been part of a design you cannot yet see. Trusting this truth is the first step toward peace. You bow your head, not because you fully understand, but because something in your heart stirs at his words. A sense of hope, fragile but real, begins to grow. Perhaps the struggles that haunted you were never meaningless. Perhaps they have been shaping you, carving a path toward wisdom. The monk's eyes meet yours, steady and kind, and you realize he has lived these truths, not just spoken them. His calm is not a mask, but a mirror, showing you what is possible. When suffering is met with awareness, the morning grows brighter, the mist lifting to reveal the sharp outlines of the mountains. You feel the strength of the earth beneath you, the vastness of the sky above you. Between them, you sit in the simple presence of breath, body, and mind. And for the first time, you begin to see that peace is not far away. It is here, hidden, in the way things rise and fall, in the way suffering itself carries the seeds of awakening. And just as the monk predicted, The question of impermanence will soon unfold more deeply. The wooden floors creak again, reminding you that nothing lasts, not even the weight of your pain. Soon, you will discover how impermanence itself holds the key to freedom. The worst part about chasing money is realizing it never fills the emptiness inside. You think the next paycheck will erase the fear, the next success will silence the doubt, the next purchase will ease the loneliness. And yet, once the thrill fades, the emptiness remains. Sitting in the monastery at dawn, you see this truth reflected in your own heart. The silence of the mountains strips away illusions. There is no applause here, no status, no competition. Only you, your breath, and the wisdom of the monk who has walked this path before you. His teaching is not about projecting the world, but about seeing through its illusions. The wooden floors beneath you, creaking with each shift of your body, are a reminder that everything fades, even wealth, even health, even life itself. The monk points to the rising mist and says, "This too will vanish." You watch as the fog curls around the pine trees, dissolving in the warmth of the sun. In that moment, you understand. Your suffering, like the mist, is also impermanent. The heaviness you carry, the despair that clouds your vision, the regrets that grip your heart, all of it, too, will dissolve. Nothing lasts, not the joy you crave, not the pain you fear. Everything is in motion, changing, becoming something else. At first, this truth feels harsh. You want something to hold on to, something unchanging, something safe. But then you realize that impermanence is not cruelty, it is mercy. If sorrow can pass, then healing can come. If grief can fade, then love can grow again. If failure is not final, then hope can return. Impermanence is the gift that allows new beginnings. Without it, you would be trapped forever in your worst moments. With it, you are given endless chances to start again. The monk invites you to notice your breath. You exhale, and it disappears into the cool morning air. A small cloud forms, then vanishes. You inhale again, and life continues. Each breath is a teacher, showing you that nothing is fixed. The same is true for your emotions. Restlessness, anger, fear, they rise like clouds and dissolve like mist. They may return, but never in the same form. Every moment is new. Every moment is unrepeatable. You think back to times when you believed pain would never end. The heartbreak that seemed endless, the grief that hollowed your chest, the anxiety that kept you awake night after night. Yet here you are, breathing, alive, stronger than you thought. The pain passed, the storms ended. Life carried you forward, even when you did not believe it could. Impermanence has always been at work, whether you noticed it or not. The monk smiles, sensing your shift. He explains that impermanence is the foundation of freedom. When you cling to what must change, you suffer. You try to hold joy in your hands, but it slips away. You try to resist pain, but it lingers all the more. The secret is not to cling, not to resist, but to flow. To accept change is the nature of life itself. In doing so, you discover peace not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting it. Emotion rises in your chest as you let this sink in. You realize how much of your life has been spent in resistance. You clung to people who left, to moments that faded, to identities that no longer fit. You fought against reality, demanding it stay still while it was always moving. No wonder you felt exhausted. No wonder peace seemed impossible. But now, as the morning light spreads across the monastery, you begin to feel something new, relief. You do not have to control everything. You do not have to resist the flow. You can rest in the truth that all things change. The chanting of monks echoes again, their voices rising like the steady tide. Each note is a reminder of impermanence. Sound arises, sound fades, silence returns. You listen, and in listening, you learn. Impermanence is not an idea, it is an experience, woven into every breath, every sound, every heartbeat. You are living. Proof of it. And in that proof, a door opens. If everything is impermanent, then even your suffering is impermanent. Even the restlessness that drove you here is impermanent. Even the heaviness you carried into the temple is impermanent. This truth does not erase pain, but it transforms your relationship with it. Instead of fearing it, you begin to trust its passing. Instead of clinging to joy, you savor it fully, knowing it too will pass. Life becomes less about control and more about presence. The monk places a hand on the wooden floor beside him. He tells you, even this wood was once a seed. It grew, it lived, it fell, and now it holds us. One day it will return to the earth. This is the way of all things. Do not fear it. See it. Learn from it. His words settle into you like stones. In a riverbed, steadying your heart. The sun has fully risen now, painting the mountains in gold. You feel warmth on your skin, the kind of warmth that reaches deeper than the body. It touches something within your spirit, something that has long been waiting to awaken. You realize that impermanence is not just a truth to accept, it is a doorway to freedom. By embracing it, you begin to let go of the endless fight against reality. By letting go, you begin to discover peace. The monk tells you that the next teaching will build upon this truth. Impermanence alone is not the whole picture. To understand your suffering fully, you must see the web of causes and conditions that give rise to every moment. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing appears without reason. Just as the sunrise depends on the churning of the earth, so too do your struggles depend on countless hidden causes. To see this is to awaken to the law of dependent origination. You rise from the cushion slowly, your body still heavy, but your heart lighter than before. You carry the monk's words with you as you step out into the courtyard. The mist has lifted, the sky is clear, and you realize that life is always moving, always changing, always teaching. The path ahead is calling, and you are ready to take the next step into understanding why everything arises the way it does. Even the darkest night ends when the sun rises. Your pain, too, can turn into light. As you sit once more in the monastery, the elder monk begins to unfold the teaching of impermanence in its fullness. His words fall slowly, like drops of water striking stone, shaping your heart in ways you cannot yet measure. He tells you, everything is subject to change. Nothing remains as it was. No moment repeats itself. And in this simple truth lies the foundation of wisdom. You look around the hall where you sit. The wooden floors creak, just as they did yesterday. But you notice more deeply now. Each creak is not the same as the one before. The wood itself is aging, shifting, becoming something new with every breath of wind, every step of a pilgrim's foot. You see the truth of impermanence not as an idea, but as a living reality beneath you. Your breath rises, visible in the cool morning air. For a moment, it forms a cloud before vanishing into nothing. That, the monk says, is the nature of all things. Your breath is life itself appearing, changing, disappearing. Your thoughts do the same. Your feelings do the same. What you once thought permanent, your sadness, your grief, even your joy, has always been moving, shifting, flowing. Impermanence is not a curse. It is a mercy. For it means that suffering does not last forever. It means that the restlessness in your heart, too, will pass. At first, the thought unsettles you. You do not want joy to fade, love to fade, peace to fade. But the monk explains that impermanence is the very thing that makes these moments precious. If you could hold joy forever, you would no longer cherish it. If love never changed, you would not learn to nurture it. Impermanence is the reason beauty moves us. It is the reason life matters. You remember the times you believed pain would never end. The long nights of loneliness, the failures that left you hollow, the grief that seemed endless. Yet here you are, breathing, alive, wiser than before. Every wound you carried has changed you, softened you, deepened you. The pain did not stay. It flowed, and in its flowing, it taught you. You realize that you are proof of impermanence, proof that nothing, not even suffering, holds you forever. The monk tells you of a leaf on a tree. In spring, it bursts into life, green and vibrant. In summer, it drinks the sun. In autumn, it turns gold, then brown, and finally falls. The leaf does not curse the wind for carrying it away. It simply follows the rhythm of life. And when it falls, it nourishes the soil, giving birth to new growth. So it is with every part of existence. So it is with you. You feel your chest loosen, your breath deepen. A quiet sense of freedom stirs in you. You no longer have to cling so tightly, nor resist so fiercely. Life has always been in motion. Your struggles, your fears, even your identity, none are fixed. All are part of an endless cycle of appearing and disappearing. You are not trapped. You are part of the great flow. Emotion rises as you reflect on how much energy you have spent, clinging to what could not last. You clung to people who left, to moments that passed, to versions of yourself that no longer fit. Each time you suffered, not because things changed, but because you resisted their changing. You see now that suffering is not in impermanence itself, but in your refusal to accept it. The monk's words sink into your heart like roots into soil. Acceptance, not resistance, is the path to peace. The chanting of the monks echoes once more, their voices vibrating in harmony. Each note arises, fills the hall, and then fades back into silence. You see impermanence in the music. Its beauty is in its vanishing. If the sound were eternal, it would lose its meaning. Impermanence gives life its rhythm, its melody, its depth. The monk looks at you with calm eyes. He tells you that embracing impermanence is not the end, but the beginning. It is the doorway to freedom, the foundation upon which deeper understanding rests. Once you see that nothing is fixed, you can begin to see the patterns beneath change. You can begin to see that everything arises not randomly, but because of conditions. Suffering, too, is not random. It has causes. And in seeing those causes, you find the key to liberation. The teaching leaves you quiet, humbled. You feel as if a great weight has been lifted, not because your struggles have disappeared, but because you now see them differently. They are not prisons. They are movements in a greater dance. They come, they go, and they leave behind wisdom. Step outside into the courtyard. The morning sun is higher now, the mist gone, the mountains clear and sharp against the sky. The air feels lighter, as though it too has been freed. You breathe deeply, grateful for this truth. Everything changes. And in that change lies the possibility of peace. But even as this realization settles, you know there is more. Impermanence explains that things change. But why do they change in the way they do? Why does one life carry joy while another carries sorrow? Why do certain patterns repeat again and again? The monk has hinted at a deeper law, one that explains not only that things change, but why they arise at all. This law, he says, is the law of dependent origination. And in the stillness of the monastery, you prepare yourself for this next teaching. People say anger makes you strong. I say it makes you weaker than ever. The monk's lesson on impermanence still echoes in your mind as you sit in the quiet hall, the scent of incense lingering in the air. He looks at you with a calm gaze that pierces deeper than words. He reminds you once more, nothing stays. Every joy fades, every sorrow dissolves. Every moment flows into the next. But then he leans closer and asks the question that changes everything. If all things are impermanent, why do they arise in the first place? You sit in silence, unsure how to respond. Your mind races, trying to find logic, but the monk waits patiently, as though he knows the answer cannot be forced. Finally, he speaks. Things do not appear without cause. Just as a seed needs soil, water, and sunlight to grow, so too all experiences require conditions. This is the law of dependent origination. Nothing arises on its own. Nothing exists in isolation. Your suffering, your joy, your very life, each is the result of countless conditions woven together. You think of your struggles, the failures that haunt you, the fears that bind you, the loneliness that follows you. For years, you believed they were punishment, or worse, meaningless. But now, with the monk's words, you begin to see them differently. They were not random. They were not accidents. They arose because of conditions, your choices, your environment, the countless interactions of cause and effect that stretch back further than memory. The monk tells you a story. Once, a man planted seeds in a barren field. He waited for them to grow, but no rain came, and the earth remained dry. He cursed his fate, believing life had betrayed him. But when rain finally came, the seeds sprouted, grew strong, and bore fruit. The man realized that his suffering was not without cause. It was simply waiting for conditions to change. In the same way, your life unfolds not by chance, but by the meeting of countless conditions. You feel both humbled and comforted by this truth. Humbled because you see how small your control truly is. Comforted because you understand that your pain has roots, and anything with roots can be understood, even transformed. You are not a victim of chaos. You are part of a web of interconnection. The monk continues. Suffering arises when we resist the conditions of our life. You see how often you have fought against reality, demanding it be different than it was. You fought endings, fought losses, fought yourself. And in fighting, your suffering grew heavier. But what if you stopped fighting? What if you met your conditions with awareness instead of resistance? What if you saw them not as enemies, but as teachers? Emotion rises in your throat as you realize how much energy you have wasted in resistance. The times you shouted at life, asking, "Why me?" The nights you drowned in resentment. The days you wore a mask, pretending you were fine while your heart ached. All of it rooted in the belief that life should have been different than it was. Yet here, in the stillness of the monastery, you see the possibility of another way. To meet life as it is, to understand the conditions that gave rise to it, and to walk with wisdom instead of resistance. The sound of birds fills the courtyard outside, their song light and fleeting. You notice how their voices rise and fall, woven into the morning air. None of them sing alone. Each call is answered by another, an invisible thread binding them together. You see the teaching in their song. Everything is connected. No sound, no life, no moment stands apart. The monk tells you that this truth is the antidote to despair. When you believe life is random, suffering feels unbearable. But when you see that everything has causes, you find meaning even in pain. You realize that your challenges carry lessons, your wounds carry wisdom, your losses carry the seeds of compassion. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. You close your eyes and reflect. The betrayals that once broke you, perhaps they taught you the value of trust. The grief that once consumed you, perhaps it opened your heart to the suffering of others. The failures that once shamed you, perhaps they pushed you toward a path more true to your soul. Dependent origination shows you that even the darkest moments are part of a greater unfolding. Tears rise, not of sorrow, but of release. For so long, you carried the burden of believing your suffering was pointless. Now, you see it as part of the web of life. You are not broken. You are becoming. Every condition, every event, every struggle has shaped you into who you are. And who you are is still unfolding. The monk's eyes shine with compassion as he speaks. When you see this truth, you no longer feel like a victim. You see that everything happens for a reason, according to conditions. And in that seeing, you find freedom. His words echo in the stillness, reverberating through your chest. Outside, the sun has risen higher, casting long shadows across the stone courtyard. You feel the warmth on your skin, a reminder that even the coldest night gives way to light. You realize that this teaching is not distant philosophy. It is life itself. You are breathing because conditions allow it. You are here because countless steps brought you here. And your suffering, too, has been preparing you for awakening. The monk tells you that soon you will see how challenges themselves are wisdom disguised. Pain, when met with awareness, becomes a teacher. Suffering, when understood, becomes the very path to peace. And as you rise from the cushion, you sense that the next step of your journey will reveal this truth in full. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, are you holding on to something that's destroying you? As the monk begins the next teaching, his voice is steady, each word carrying the weight of centuries of practice. He tells you that nothing arises by chance. Every thought, every emotion, every event is born because of conditions. This truth is known as dependent origination, the law that explains why your life unfolds the way it does. You shift slightly on the meditation cushion, hearing the wood beneath you creak. Even that sound, the monk explains, exists because of conditions: the tree that once grew, the carpenter who shaped the planks, the steps of countless monks that pressed the floor thinner over time. Without these, the creak you hear would not exist. Nothing exists independently. Everything is connected. The monk points to a candle burning near the altar. Its flame flickers, dancing with the wind. He asks you to consider, why does the flame exist? Because of the wick, the wax, the match that lit it, the air that feeds it. Remove any one of these conditions, and the flame cannot burn. Your suffering, too, is like that flame. It does not exist by itself. It has causes, attachments, fears, misunderstandings, unmet needs, habits carried from the past. When you see this, you no longer feel cursed by life. You begin to see your struggles as the natural result of conditions that can be understood and transformed. At first, this truth feels overwhelming. You think of all the pain you've endured and wonder, what conditions gave rise to it? Was it your choices? The actions of others? Circumstances beyond control? The monk tells you not to look for blame. This law is not about guilt. It is about clarity. When you see the web of conditions, you stop fighting shadows and start meeting reality. You close your eyes and remember a moment of deep sorrow, perhaps a heartbreak that left you hollow. You always believed it happened without reason, that fate had betrayed you. But now you begin to see the conditions, expectations you carried, misunderstandings that grew, unspoken words, the impermanence of feelings. It does not erase the pain, but it shows you it was not random. It arose because conditions allowed it. And because it arose through conditions, it can dissolve through conditions. Emotion stirs in your chest as you understand you are not powerless. Just as pain arises through conditions, healing also arises through conditions. By nurturing awareness, compassion, and wisdom, you can change the soil from which your life grows. Suffering does not vanish by magic, but it transforms when new conditions are cultivated. The monk explains that this is why practice matters. Meditation, kindness, letting go, these are not empty rituals. They are new conditions, seeds of peace planted in the field of your life. Over time, they grow, just as seeds in the earth grow when nourished. He smiles gently and says, your life is the garden of your conditions. Tend it with care. You feel the truth of his words. For years, you focused only on the weeds, the failures, the regrets, the wounds. You did not see the soil beneath, waiting for new seeds. You did not see that peace too could grow if you created the conditions for it. Now, sitting in the monastery stillness, you begin to sense the possibility of a new way of living. The chanting of monks drifts from another hall, their voices weaving together like threads in a tapestry. You realize that just as no single voice makes the chant, no single cause makes your suffering. It is always a web, a pattern. And when you see the pattern, you no longer feel trapped. You see possibilities. You see freedom. The monk leans forward, his eyes steady. He tells you that dependent origination is the antidote to despair. When life feels senseless, this truth reveals order. When suffering feels endless, this truth reveals change. You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are part of an interwoven dance of conditions. And just as conditions gave rise to your pain, so too can conditions give rise to peace. Outside, the wind stirs the trees. You watch the branches sway, each movement depending on the wind, the trunk, the roots deep in the soil. Nothing moves by itself. Everything moves together. You realize that you too are like that tree. Every part of your life, every choice, every relationship has been shaped by countless unseen roots. Seeing this brings not only humility, but also hope. The monk tells you that the next step of your journey will show you how even challenges themselves carry wisdom. That every difficulty, every struggle, hides a lesson waiting to be seen. As you prepare for this next teaching, you feel lighter, as though the web that once trapped you has become a map guiding you toward peace. I once knew a man who faced defeat at every small setback. His frustration boiled over like fire, and he believed that his anger gave him strength. Yet all it did was weaken him and those who loved him. The monk's voice pulls you away from this memory, steady as the morning breeze. He continues his teaching on dependent origination. Everything arises because of conditions, and everything fades when those conditions change. He asks you to look closely at your suffering. Think of anger. Why does it appear? Not by magic, not by fate. It arises because of frustration, unmet expectations, fear, pride. When those conditions gather, anger sparks. When those conditions fade, anger dissolves. This is true not only of anger, but of every state of mind. Joy, sorrow, jealousy, compassion, they are all born of conditions. None are permanent. None are who you truly are. You feel the power of this truth settling into you. For years, you thought your emotions defined you. I am angry. I am afraid. I am broken. But the monk reminds you, you are not the anger, nor the fear, nor the brokenness. You are the awareness that sees them come and go. They are guests in your house, not the house itself. He points again to the candle's flame. This flame depends on wax, wick, and air. Remove the air, and the flame dies. Remove the wick, and the flame cannot live. Suffering is the same. Do not fight the flame. Understand the conditions that feed it, and change them. His words are both gentle and sharp, cutting through the fog of confusion. You think of your loneliness. For so long, it felt like a curse, a constant shadow. But now you see its conditions: isolation, unspoken fears, the way you pushed people away while secretly longing for them to stay. Loneliness did not appear without cause. It was shaped by your actions, your thoughts, your circumstances. And if it arose through conditions, then by changing conditions, opening your heart, reaching out, practicing compassion, it can fade. A wave of relief washes over you. For the first time, you do not see yourself as a prisoner of suffering. You see yourself as a participant in an unfolding web of causes. You are not powerless. You can plant new seeds. You can create new conditions. The monk tells you that life is like a wheel. Each spoke is a condition, turning with the others. Remove one spoke, and the wheel wobbles. Add another, and it strengthens. Suffering is simply the wheel turning under. Certain conditions. Change those conditions, and the wheel turns differently. The chanting from the nearby hall rises again, steady and harmonious. You notice how each voice depends on the others. No single monk creates the chant alone. It exists. Because they breathe together, sing together, listen together. The sound itself is dependent origination made audible. Without one, the whole would change. You realize that you, too, are like the chant. Your life is not a single, isolated note. It is a symphony of conditions, family, choices, memories, fears, hopes, all weaving together to form the music of your being. To understand this is to soften, to resist less, to trust more. The monk's eyes meet yours. He tells you that recognizing dependent origination frees you from the story of being a victim. You are not cursed. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are part of an interconnected web, and in that web lies both the reason for your suffering and the path to its end. As you rise from the hall, the sun is high, warming the stone beneath your feet. You carry with you a new sense of possibility. You see that every challenge you face carries wisdom, if only you are willing to look. Your next step will reveal this truth, that even the hardest experiences are not enemies, but teachers. And with that, you walk into the courtyard, ready to discover how wisdom hides within the very challenges that once broke you. There was once a monk who owned a simple porcelain teacup. One morning, it slipped from his hand, fell to the floor, and shattered. Another monk nearby gasped, expecting sorrow. But the elder simply smiled and said, "It was already broken." His words, simple yet profound, stayed with you as you follow your own journey through the monastery. Now, the teaching turns to challenges, and the wisdom they contain. The elder monk sits with you under the shade of an ancient pine. Its branches sway gently, scattering light across the courtyard stones. He asks you to remember a moment of great difficulty in your life, a time when you thought you could not endure. Perhaps it was loss, perhaps betrayal, perhaps the quiet ache of loneliness. He tells you to bring it to mind, not with resistance, but with curiosity. Like a student ready to learn from a teacher. At first, the memory burns. The pain feels fresh again. But then you hear the monk's voice. Every experience carries a purpose. Even suffering holds wisdom. You breathe with these words, letting them sink into the places you usually avoid. Slowly, you begin to notice that the very experiences you hated have shaped you most. The heartbreak that emptied you also taught you how deeply you could love. The failure that shamed you also pushed you toward truth. The loss that broke you also awakened compassion for others. The monk explains that pain, when met with awareness, is like fire. It can destroy, or it can refine. A sword placed in fire is not weakened, but strengthened. In the same way, your suffering can forge resilience, clarity, and compassion. But this transformation requires openness. If you resist the fire, you burn. If you embrace it with wisdom, you are purified. You think of your own life differently. Now, what once felt like punishment begins to look like guidance. Perhaps the challenges were not there to crush you, but to awaken you. Perhaps they were invitations to grow. You realize that suffering without awareness is just pain, but suffering with awareness becomes a teacher. Emotion wells in your chest as you see this shift. Tears blur your vision, not of despair, but of recognition. You see that the hardest parts of your life were not wasted. They were shaping you, preparing you for this very moment of understanding. You feel gratitude rise where before there was only bitterness. The monk places his hand on the stone beside him. Every stone here was once rough, sharp, jagged. But with time, with water, with pressure, it became smooth. Your life is no different. Each difficulty shapes you. Each challenge polishes you. If you let it, your suffering can turn you into something clear and strong. The chanting begins again in the distance, soft at first, then swelling. You close your eyes and let the sound wash through you. Each note carries a story of discipline, patience, and practice. Each chant is born of effort, yet it brings peace. You realize that wisdom is not born in comfort. It is born in the fire of struggle, in the persistence of practice, in the willingness to meet life as it is. The monk tells you that soon you will discover the deeper truth of the present moment itself, that each moment is unrepeatable, carrying within it the fullness of life. He smiles knowing that once you see this truth, you will never meet your challenges the same way again. And as the sun begins its slow descent behind the peaks, you rise with a lighter heart. You step forward, ready to see how every moment, even the painful ones, is a gift that cannot be repeated. I once believed that challenges were punishments life hurled at us, cruel tests meant only to break our spirit. Yet here, in the monastery, the elder monk reveals a different truth. He tells you that challenges are not enemies. They are hidden teachers. Every difficult experience carries a lesson, waiting for the eyes that can see it. He asks you to recall a painful memory, one that once felt unbearable. Perhaps it was the day a friendship ended, the moment you lost something you thought you could never live without, or the time your plans collapsed in front of you. As you bring this memory to mind, the monk gently guides you. Do not turn away. Look into it. Ask, what was it trying to teach? At first, the memory stings. Your body remembers the heaviness, the tears, the helplessness. But then, slowly, you begin to notice something else. That experience taught you resilience. It pushed you to discover strength you did not know you had. It opened your eyes to truths you would never have seen otherwise. You realize the wisdom hidden inside the pain. The monk compares suffering to a mountain path, steep, rough, filled with stones that cut your feet. You curse the path as you climb. Yet at the summit, you see the view, the vast horizon, the beauty of the world. Without the struggle, you would never have reached that height. In the same way, your challenges carry you upward, even when you resist them. Tears gather as you understand. All the moments you hated were shaping you. They were carving depth into your heart, making space for compassion, patience, wisdom. They were not punishments. They were preparation. The pain itself was the teacher. The lesson was always hidden inside. The monk smiles and says, pain without awareness is only suffering. Pain with awareness becomes wisdom. His words settle deep into your chest. You see that life has always been giving you lessons. You simply did not recognize them. The chanting of monks rises in the distance once more, steady and calm. Their voices remind you that practice transforms everything. Just as their discipline turns ordinary breath into sacred sound, your awareness can turn suffering into wisdom. You realize you have a choice: to keep fighting your challenges, or to welcome them as guides. The monk tells you that soon you will see the truth of the present moment itself, that every moment is unique, unrepeatable, and filled with meaning. He warns that if you rush past it, you will miss its wisdom. But if you stay fully present, you will discover that the greatest gift life offers is here. Now, as the sun sets and shadows lengthen across the courtyard, you feel a quiet readiness grow in you. You are prepared to meet the next truth, that this moment, fleeting and precious, holds everything you need. One evening, I sat beside a river and watched the water flow. When I dipped my hand into the stream, I realized this water will never pass by again. It was here for a single moment, then gone forever. The monk calls this truth the unrepeatable moment. He explains it to you now, in the quiet of the monastery, as evening descends. He invites you to close your eyes and notice your breath. This inhale has never happened before, and it will never happen again. This exhale is also unique, vanishing. As soon as it arrives, each sensation in your body, the tension in your shoulders, the warmth in your chest, the faint ache in your legs, exists only now. Tomorrow they will be different. Even your thoughts are like the river's water appearing, flowing, disappearing. Nothing repeats at first. This realization fills you with unease. You want to hold on to moments, to capture joy, to preserve peace. But the monk explains that clinging is what blinds us to the miracle of now. The present moment does not need to be grasped. It needs to be lived. The gift of impermanence is that every second carries a freshness, a newness, a chance to awaken. You remember times when you rushed through life, always chasing something ahead, the next goal, the next relationship, the next milestone. You believed. Peace lived in the future. If only you could achieve enough, fix enough, prove enough. But here, as the monk's words settle into you, you see how much you missed. The laughter that came and went in a blink. The quiet mornings you hurried past. The kindness offered by a stranger that you barely noticed. Each was an unrepeatable moment, lost to your restless chase. Emotion rises as you realize that peace does not wait in the distance. It is here, in this very breath, in this very heartbeat, in this very step across the monastery floor. You have always been searching for what was already present. The monk compares the moment to a flower blooming in spring. Its petals unfold only once, in that precise way, under those exact conditions. You cannot make it bloom again. You can only appreciate it while it is here. Life, too, unfolds in unique blossoms, each one a teacher, each one a treasure. You open your eyes and look at the lanterns glowing in the hall. Their light flickers, shifting with the breeze. You realize that even this flicker will never happen. Again, this sound of chanting, this feeling in your chest, this breath in your lungs, they exist once, and then they are gone. And instead of sorrow, you feel gratitude. Gratitude for being here to witness it. Gratitude for the reminder that every moment is precious. The monk smiles as though he can see the shift in your heart. This moment, he says softly, contains everything you need. Do not run from it. Do not grasp at it. Live it. When you truly live this moment, you live all moments. A calm unlike any you've known spreads through you. You do not need to fix the past. You do not need to chase the future. You only need to meet what is here. Now, with awareness, and as the night deepens, you sense that the next teaching will reveal how to align with reality itself. Not to resist, not to control, but to live in harmony with what is. That alignment, the monk promises, is where lasting peace begins. There was a time when I wished I could freeze the world, holding on to one perfect afternoon, one joyful conversation, one quiet night beneath the stars. But life never allowed it. Each moment slipped away, no matter how tightly I clung. Now, sitting here in the monastery, the monk reminds you, the present moment is unrepeatable. It is not meant to be held. It is meant to be lived. He asks you to feel your breath again, but this time with deeper attention. Notice how each inhale feels slightly different than the last, cooler, warmer, deeper, shallower. Notice how each exhale carries its own weight. These breaths are not copies of one another. They are entirely unique. You begin to sense the truth. Life is a mosaic of one-time-only experiences, strung together in a flow. The monk leans closer and says, stop searching for perfection in some distant future. Stop regretting what has already vanished. This moment holds everything you need. His voice is firm yet tender, and it lands like a stone in the river of your thoughts, rippling outward. You realize that you have spent so much of your life chasing a future state of happiness that you forgot to notice the happiness already present. You think of times when you were waiting for the job to change, the relationship to improve, the pain to fade, the conditions to be right. You always thought peace would come later, after enough effort, after enough achievement. But the monk's words show you that later never arrives. There is only now. And within now lies the fullness of life, complete and entire. Emotion rises as you see how many unrepeatable moments you rushed past. The smile of a loved one you took for granted. The gentle warmth of sunlight through your window on a morning you barely noticed. The chance to say a kind word that you let slip away. They will never return. And yet, the monk reminds you, you can begin again right here. This breath, this step, this heartbeat, they are also unrepeatable gifts. You feel your body soften, your chest open. Gratitude spreads as you realize you are alive in this moment, witnessing it, part of it. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be added. The truth is already here. The monk compares the present to a bell being struck. The sound rings out once, vibrating through the hall, then fades into silence. That note will never sound the same. Way again. But its impermanence is what makes it beautiful. So too is every experience in your life. He tells you that when you see each moment as unrepeatable, you live differently. You speak with more kindness because you know you may never have that chance again. You listen with more care because you know that moment of connection will pass. You love with more openness because you know time cannot be held still. This is not a reason for sorrow, but for reverence. The chanting begins once more, a deep rhythm flowing through the walls of the monastery. You realize that this particular chant, in this exact moment, will never return. You let yourself receive it fully, letting it fill your body with stillness and clarity. The monk looks at you, his eyes steady as the mountains, and says, "When you honor the unrepeatable moment, you honor life itself." His words settle into your heart like a seed ready to grow. And now, as you rise and step outside, the night sky opens above you, stars scattered like diamonds. You feel awe at the truth that even this sky, seen in this exact way, will never return. The realization humbles you, but it also frees you. You do not need forever. You need only this moment, lived with awareness. Tomorrow, the monk says, you will learn the next step. How to align yourself with reality instead of fighting it. For once you accept the uniqueness of every moment, the path forward is to live in harmony with life as it unfolds. The ocean never grows calm by force. The waves rise and fall according to the wind, and no amount of resistance can still them. The monk tells you that true peace works the same way. He says, peace is not found by changing reality to suit your desires. Peace is found when you stop fighting what already is. His words settle into you like rain soaking into dry earth. You think of all the times you struggled against life. When loss came, you denied it. When plans failed, you cursed them. When emotions rose, you tried to bury them. Each battle left you more exhausted, more bitter, more restless. The monk reminds you that this struggle is the root of unnecessary suffering. Pain is part of life, but resistance multiplies it. He invites you to sit in silence and notice your thoughts. One by one they appear memories of regret, worries of regret, the future, judgments of yourself. Instead of pushing them away, he asks you to simply see them. Not to chase, not to cling, not to fight. Just see. Slowly, you begin to notice a shift. The thoughts lose some of their power. They come, they go, like clouds across the sky. Reality unfolds, and you are no longer at war with it. Emotion rises as you realize how much freedom exists in this simple act. You do not need to control everything. You do not need to bend life to your will. You can rest in the truth that everything unfolds naturally. The sun rises because the earth turns. The river flows because of gravity and rain. Your life, too, unfolds according to causes and conditions. Fighting does not change the river's direction. It only drowns you. The monk tells you of a man who spent his life shaking his fist at the rain. He cursed the clouds for ruining his plans, cursed the storms for flooding his fields. Yet those same rains fed the rivers, nourished the soil, and made his crops grow. His anger blinded him to the gift in what he resisted. In the same way, your resistance blinds you to the wisdom of your own challenges. You close your eyes and feel a deep calm settle in. For the first time in years, you allow yourself to stop fighting. You do not need to fix the past. You do not need to force the future. You only need to align with what is here, now. The monk explains that alignment is not passivity. It is not giving up. It is seeing clearly, accepting reality as it is, and then acting from wisdom rather than fear. When you align with life, your actions flow naturally, like water moving downhill. They carry strength, clarity, and peace. You remember the times you acted from resistance, snapping in anger, rushing from fear, clinging from desperation. Those actions only deepened your suffering. But when you acted from acceptance, listening, instead of arguing, breathing instead of reacting, you discovered ease. You realize now that peace does not mean avoiding pain. It means meeting it without resistance, letting it be what it is, and responding with awareness. Not the chanting of monks fills the air again, deep and resonant. Each note rises and falls without struggle. You see that their harmony exists because they are aligned, not fighting the rhythm, not forcing their voices, but flowing together. Alignment creates beauty. Alignment creates peace. The monk looks at you with eyes steady and still. Water. He tells you that soon you will learn the deeper practice of awareness, the light that reveals the hidden meaning in every event, the practice that transforms suffering into wisdom. You realize that your journey is far from over, but already your heart feels lighter. You are beginning to see what it means to rest in harmony with life. I know the feeling of lying awake, wishing the world would bend to your will. But here, in the monastery, the elder monk teaches you something different. He says, to align with reality is to free yourself from unnecessary suffering. When you stop demanding that life be other than it is, peace naturally arises. You think of the times you resisted reality, the illness you denied, the breakup you raged against, the job loss you cursed. Each time, your pain only deepened. The monk explains that resistance is like trying to dam a river with your bare hands. The water still flows. Only you exhaust yourself. Alignment, instead, is stepping into the current and allowing it to carry you. He asks you to sit quietly and observe your body. Perhaps there is tension in your shoulders, an ache in your back, a restlessness in your chest. Instead of fighting these sensations, he asks you to welcome them, to breathe into them. Slowly, they shift. You realize the truth. When you stop resisting, even discomfort becomes softer. Emotion wells as you see how much energy you have wasted in battle with life. You always thought you had to win, to conquer, to control. But here, in the stillness, you realize that surrender is not defeat. It is wisdom. To align with reality is to recognize that everything has its place, its reason, its unfolding. The monk tells you that alignment is not passivity. It is not giving up. It is choosing to see clearly, to act from understanding rather than illusion. When a storm comes, you cannot stop the rain, but you can open an umbrella. You can find shelter. You can even dance in the downpour. This is alignment, working with reality, not against it. You remember a time when you stopped resisting. Perhaps when grief finally brought you to tears, and instead of holding them back, you let them flow. Or when failure humbled you, and instead of hiding, you learned. In those moments, peace entered quietly. You realize now that peace has always been waiting. Hidden beneath resistance, the chanting of monks rises again, their voices blending in perfect harmony. You notice how their song carries no struggle. Each voice aligns with the others, flowing naturally into a greater whole. You see yourself in their harmony. When you align with reality, your life too becomes part of a larger rhythm. The monk smiles gently and says, "Stop asking life to obey you. Instead, listen to it, walk with it, align with it. There you will find freedom." His words settle deep into your chest, and for the first time, you believe peace is possible, not someday, but here, now, in this very breath. And as the lesson closes, he tells you that the next step of your journey will reveal the path of awareness itself. Awareness is the light that transforms every challenge into wisdom, every struggle into awakening. You feel anticipation stir within you, knowing that the next teaching will show you how to see life with clear eyes. Once, in a moment of restlessness, I tried to cross a dark room without light. I stumbled, knocked over a chair, and scraped my knee. Only when I struck a match did the path reveal itself, clear and safe. The monk begins the next teaching with this same image. He says, "Awareness is the light. Without it, you stumble. With it, every step becomes sure." You sit before him, the air heavy with incense, the sound of chanting still lingering in the distance. He tells you that awareness is not a special state reserved for monks or saints. It is your natural ability to see clearly. But you must practice. Without awareness, you are swept away by stories, fears, regrets, desires. With awareness, you see things as they are. He asks you to close your eyes and notice a thought, perhaps a worry about the future. Normally, you would chase it, feed it, let it grow until it overwhelms you. But now, he asks you simply to observe. See it appear. See it fade. Do not fight it. Do not cling. Just notice. You realize that the thought is not as solid as you believed. It comes, it goes, like a cloud across the sky. You are the sky. The thought is only weather. Emotion stirs as you understand. You are not your thoughts. You are not your suffering. You are the awareness in which they arise and dissolve. This realization brings relief, as though a heavy weight has been lifted. You begin to trust awareness as your guide. The monk explains that awareness transforms suffering into wisdom. Without awareness, pain feels meaningless, crushing. With awareness, pain becomes a teacher. When you are aware of your anger, you see its roots: fear, unmet needs, misunderstanding. Instead of letting it consume you, you learn from it. When you are aware of your loneliness, you see the longing for connection beneath it. Awareness does not erase pain, but it reveals its message. You think back to times when you lived without. Awareness rushing through days, reacting without thinking, drowning in emotions. You see how much unnecessary suffering that brought. Now, you realize you have a choice: to live blindly or to live awake. Awareness is that choice, moment by moment. The monk tells you that awareness is like a lamp in a dark cave. It does not change the cave, but it shows you where to step. It shows you the rocks, the walls, the hidden treasures. With awareness, you can navigate safely. Without it, you stumble. In fear, you open your eyes and see the monastery anew. The walls, the lanterns, the faces of monks passing by all seem brighter, sharper. Nothing has changed, yet everything has changed. Awareness makes the ordinary extraordinary. You feel gratitude rise for this simple but profound gift. The monk smiles and says, "Awareness is the path. Walk it with patience. Each moment you practice, the light grows stronger." His words sink deep, and you sense that your life itself could be transformed if you live this way. And as you prepare for the next step, He tells you that awareness will guide you into deeper rest. That when you let awareness carry you, even sleep becomes sacred, a continuation of the path. You feel anticipation as you rise, knowing that the unfolding of this journey will take you closer to peace than you have ever been. On a restless day, I sat beneath a tree while my thoughts pulled me in 1,000 directions. Then I noticed a single leaf trembling in the breeze. In that quiet observation, my mind softened. That was awareness without effort. The monk now invites you to live in this same way, to let awareness become your constant companion. He says, awareness is the path of peace. It does not demand that you change your life overnight. It asks only that you see clearly. He reminds you that awareness is not judgment. It is not control. It is openness, a clear seeing of what is. When sadness comes, awareness notices it. When joy comes, awareness welcomes it. Both are treated the same. Guests arriving and departing. You practice now, sitting in silence. A memory rises perhaps of loss. Normally, you would drown in its heaviness. But with awareness, you simply see, this is grief. You breathe, it softens. Then another thought comes perhaps of hope. Normally, you would chase it. But with awareness, you see, this is hope. You breathe, it passes. Awareness becomes the space in which all things appear and disappear. Monk explains that awareness reveals purpose where once there seemed to be none. Without awareness, suffering feels random, cruel. With awareness, you see that each event carries meaning. Anger shows you where you cling. Fear shows you where you resist. Loneliness shows you where you long for connection. Awareness transforms the senseless into the meaningful. Emotion rises as you realize you no longer have to be trapped in stories your mind tells. For years, you believed life was against you. You carried bitterness, shame, regret. But awareness allows you to see these as thoughts, not truths. You are free to let them go. The monk compares awareness to a lamp carried through every room of Bell, your house. Without it, you stumble in darkness, tripping over furniture, frightened of shadows. With it, you see clearly. The furniture is the same, the house the same, but your relationship with it changes. In the same way, awareness does not remove suffering, but it changes how you meet it. You think of your own life as a house filled with rooms you avoided, the room of grief, the room of anger, the room of failure. You shut their doors, afraid of what you might find. But now you see that with awareness, you can enter. You can sit with what is there. You can see it, understand it, and learn from it. No room is as frightening once the lamp of awareness shines inside. The chanting of monks fills the hall again, rising and falling like the breath. You notice it more deeply now, not just as sound but as presence. Each note arises, dissolves, and in that dissolving you feel peace. This is awareness in practice. Noticing without clinging, receiving without grasping. The monk smiles at you as if he knows the truth dawning in your heart. Awareness is the key to freedom, he says. When you see clearly, you no longer create stories of a senseless world. You see the reasons, the patterns, the hidden teachings. And in that seeing, you awaken. His words leave you quiet, still, open. You realize that the path of awareness is not about becoming someone else. It is about being fully here, fully alive, fully present. And as you bow your head, you feel ready for the next step, learning to rest in this unfolding, to let awareness carry you into peace even in the rhythm of sleep. On quiet nights, the sound of rain tapping gently on the roof can feel like a lullaby. At first, the body resists, restless and unwilling to let the day go. But slowly, the rhythm of the rain softens everything, drawing you into rest. The monk now teaches you that rest itself can be practice. He says, let the teachings continue within you, even when you sleep. Awareness does not end when the eyes close. You sit with him in the quiet hall, lanterns glowing softly, shadows dancing across the walls. The day of lessons has filled you with both peace and reflection. Yet your body feels tired, your eyelids heavy. The monk tells you to honor this, for rest is part of the path. Just as the earth rests in winter to prepare for spring, your body and mind must rest to prepare for awakening. He invites you to lie down on the mat. At first, it feels unusual practice while lying down, but he assures you, rest itself is practice when done with awareness. You close your eyes and notice the rise and fall of your breath. Each inhale fills you like the tide, rising. Each exhale releases you like the tide returning to the sea. The rhythm carries you. Your thoughts appear, fragments of the day's teachings, memories of your life beyond the monastery. Normally, they would keep you awake, pulling you into worry or regret. But now, you simply observe. Thought arises, thought fades. Just as in meditation, the body relaxes, the mind softens. Awareness remains. Emotion stirs as you realize that even sleep can be sacred. It is not an escape from practice, but a continuation of it. Your conscious awareness flows into rest, and the wisdom of the day seeps deeper, like water nourishing roots underground. The monk tells you, you are part of the vast web of existence. Even as you sleep, life unfolds around you. The trees breathe, the stars turn, the rivers flow. You are never separate from this. You are always held. His words soothe you like a lullaby. You feel yourself letting go, not into oblivion, but into connection, into trust. You remember the countless nights when you fought sleep restless, anxious, trapped in your thoughts. Those nights felt like torment. But now you see that rest is not the enemy. Rest is the body's wisdom, the mind's renewal, the soul's rhythm. To surrender to rest is to align with life itself. The chanting of monks fades in the distance. As the hall grows quieter, you feel yourself drifting, yet still aware. The breath carries you like a boat on calm water. You realize that awareness is not bound by waking or sleeping. It is the thread that weaves through both, connecting every part of your being. And as you hover between wakefulness and sleep, the monk's final words reach you. Everything that happens serves your awakening. Even this rest is a lesson. Let go and let the wisdom continue to unfold within you. Your body softens fully. The mind quiets. You rest not in forgetfulness, but in the unfolding of life itself, part of something greater than you can name. Many people believe that sleep is an escape, a way of leaving everything behind. But here in the monastery, the monk explains that rest itself is not a break from the path, it is part of the unfolding. He tells you, awareness does not end when the eyes close. It continues, holding you even in dreams. You lie down on the mat, the hall quiet now, except for the faint hum of insects outside and the slow fading of incense. Your body feels heavy, yet your mind is calm. The monk's voice guides you inward. Let go of the day's burdens. Let them dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Trust that even in stillness, life continues its work. As you breathe, you begin to feel the rhythm of existence itself. Inhale, exhale. Rise, fall, awake, asleep. You see that even sleep is part of the endless cycle of impermanence, a time when the body restores and the mind resets. It is not wasted. It is essential. Emotion stirs as you recall nights when you resisted rest, trapped in worry, haunted by thoughts. You believed you had to solve everything before sleep. But now, you see that letting go is the wiser path. The night itself becomes a teacher, reminding you that surrender is strength. The monk whispers, everything that happens serves your awakening. The pain, the joy, even the dreams of your sleep. Nothing is outside the path. You let those. Words carry you deeper, softening into trust. You are held by the great web of existence. You are part of something vast, moving, alive. You feel yourself drifting, but awareness remains like a soft flame in the darkness. It watches over you, steady and gentle. You realize that whether you are awake or asleep, peace is always available. It does not depend on effort. It depends on letting go. And just before you surrender fully to rest, the monk's final words of the evening linger. Tomorrow, you will see the ultimate truth that everything happens for a reason, woven by conditions guided by wisdom. This is the understanding that will set you free. With that, you close your eyes completely. The hall fades, the world softens, and you rest deeply in the unfolding, knowing that even in stillness, life continues to awaken within you. Once, I asked my grandmother why certain things in life unfolded the way they did, why good people sometimes suffered, why joy vanished so quickly, why loss struck without warning. She smiled, touched my hand, and whispered, "Everything happens for a reason, though we may not see it yet." Now, sitting with the monk in the monastery, you hear almost the same words. Everything happens according to conditions. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. The monk's eyes are calm, like still water that reflects the entire sky. He explains that the truth of dependent origination and impermanence leads here to the ultimate understanding. Life is not chaos. It is an unfolding, guided by causes and conditions too vast for the mind to hold, yet not beyond the reach of awareness. Every joy, every sorrow, every meeting, every parting, each carries meaning. Each belongs to a greater whole. You close your eyes and think of your life's turning points. The heartbreaks that broke you open, the failures that redirected your path, the losses that deepened your compassion. At the time, they felt cruel, meaningless. But now you see the threads connecting them. Without those moments, you would not be here, seeking, learning, awakening. Even your suffering was part of the path, a teacher disguised as pain. The monk tells you that once you see this truth, despair loosens its grip. You no longer feel like a victim of chance. You no longer believe life is against you. Instead, you realize you are a conscious participant in the flow. You walk not in darkness, but in understanding. Freedom does not mean controlling what happens. It means trusting the conditions that arise, knowing they carry wisdom, even when painful. Emotion rises as you reflect on how often you asked, "Why me?" Now the answer is clear, not as a punishment, not as cruelty, but as part of a larger unfolding. The struggles were not meaningless. They were invitations. They were teachers. They were stepping stones toward this moment of recognition. The chanting begins again in the monastery, a low and steady hum. You listen, and it feels as if the sound itself is woven into the fabric of the universe. Each note arises because of breath, practice, intention, the presence of many voices joining as one. Nothing exists alone. The chant, like life itself, is dependent origination in action. You see this and understand. Everything truly happens for a reason. The monk leans forward and says, "This recognition is freedom." When you know that every event belongs, your heart rests. You no longer cling to joy nor fear sorrow. You meet each moment with awareness, knowing it carries purpose. His words sink deep, like water into soil. You feel a peace you have never known before spreading through you. Not the fragile peace that depends on good days or easy times, but a peace rooted in trust. Trust in life. Trust in conditions. Trust in the unfolding dot. As the lesson ends, the monk tells you that the final step is to rest fully in this knowledge. To live not as someone lost, but as someone who understands. To walk forward carrying this wisdom in every breath, every step, every act of kindness. He says, this is the ultimate understanding. May it guide you always. You bow your head, humbled, grateful, transformed. A journey is not over, but you see it differently now. You are not wandering. You are walking a path that has always had meaning. Every stone, every shadow, every sunrise is part of it. And for the first time, you are at peace with all of it. Even the darkest questions dissolve when met with light. The monk sits silently beside you, his presence steady as the mountains around the monastery. You feel no need to speak, because the teaching has already taken root in your heart. This is the final unfolding, the place where the journey rests. He reminds you gently, everything happens for a reason, according to conditions. This is the wisdom you carry now. It is not theory, it is your lived experience. You breathe, and the truth feels simple, undeniable. Each inhale arises because of countless causes: the air around you, the body sustained by food and care, the earth itself supporting your life. Each exhale returns to the world, joining the rhythm of all living things. Nothing is random. You reflect on your journey through the monastery, the creaking floors, the rising mist, the burning candle, the chanting voices. Each teaching was not separate, but part of a whole, leading you here. Impermanence, dependent, origination, awareness, alignment threads weaving into a single tapestry of understanding. You see now that life itself has always been your teacher, patiently guiding you to this moment of clarity. Emotion rises. As you think of the struggles that once felt unbearable, they have not vanished, but they no longer bind you. You see them as conditions that shaped you, carving wisdom into your heart. You are no longer at war with your past. You are no longer afraid of your future. You rest in the unfolding of now. The monk smiles, as if he can see your heart soften. Peace is not somewhere else, he says. It is here, in the way you meet life. Freedom is not in controlling conditions, but in seeing them clearly, trusting their unfolding. His words are simple, but they carry the weight of truth. Step outside into the courtyard one last time. The night sky stretches above, stars scattered across its vast canvas. You realize that even the stars are impermanent, born of conditions, burning for a time before fading. Yet in their impermanence, they light the path for countless travelers. You too can shine in this way, not forever, but meaningfully. A deep peace fills you as you bow your head in gratitude. Gratitude for the monk, for the teachings, for your suffering that became wisdom. Gratitude for this journey that showed you what you had always longed for, that life has meaning, that everything belongs, that nothing is wasted. The monk's final words are soft, almost a whisper. Walk gently. Live with awareness. Trust the unfolding. May this understanding bring freedom and compassion to your precious life. You close your eyes and breathe. The journey has ended, but the practice continues. You carry the wisdom with you, not as a burden, but as light. And in that light, you step forward into your life, knowing at last that everything happens for a reason.